All right, hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Owls on Record. I'm joined today by Hannah Soisson, a rising senior from the Bryn Mawr swim team. How are you doing today, Hannah?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us. Can you go ahead and tell people what you're studying at Bryn Mawr, what your major is?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah. I'm a rising senior. I'm a double major in political science and history, and my concentrations in political science are political theory and policy formation. So, with that, I am pre law. So, I'm studying for the LSATs right now, and I will be applying to law school soon, hopefully starting in the fall of 2021. So,
That's very
yeah.
exciting. Is that something you always knew you were interested in? You've always been kind of interested in law and pre-law, that kind of thing?
Towards like my latter career of high school, beginning college, yes. Before that, I had no idea, but I discovered my love to argue and read and write and analyze. And this is just kind of the path I'm following with that. So
Very cool. Can you talk to people a little bit about what made you decide to attend Bryn Mawr, kind of what that decision process was, and then what your first kind of 3 years as an owl have been like?
yeah, so actually my decision to attend Bryn Mawr had a lot to do with swimming and athletics. I've been swimming my whole life. It's the only sport I ever really did or was kind of good at. So when I was finishing up high school, I really wanted to look for a school that I could continue to swim at, but I was also really realistic with myself and what I knew I could do in the pool and also the academic environment I wanted. I have always put school first and I wanted to continue to put school first. So I knew a Division III environment was what I really wanted. So I looked at a bunch of D3 small liberal arts schools because, again, I knew I wanted to do something pre-law. So I thought liberal arts would be a great track for me. And I love the liberal arts approach to education. So yeah, a lot of schools I looked at were in the Centennial Conference, which was what Bryn Mawr is in. So I really just did a little tour of all those schools. Bryn Mawr stood out to me. I love the historically all women's aspect, the connection to Seven Sisters. The campus was just so welcoming. It's beautiful. It's close to where I grew up, so I felt very comfortable. And I loved the political science departments and the libraries, and it just felt like the right fit. And I applied early decision, actually, so I knew very early on my senior year of high school that I would be going here. So my first 3 years, each one has been very different in its own special way. It was really hard for me my freshman year to adjust to everything, like just being on my own, and also the academic rigor of Bryn Mawr was different for me to adjust to. But everyone was so accommodating, and my want to learn and to fit in and do great was really there. And now I feel so comfortable, and I'm sad that this time in the year I will no longer be an owl, which is weird.
It really flies by, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you have kind of come into the owl swimming program and become really one of the fastest breaststrokers in program history. You're the third fastest 100 breaststroker in program history. Just this year, you and three of your teammates set the fastest 400 medley relay time in program history. So you've had a really successful career here at Bryn Mawr during your time. I know you mentioned you've been swimming your whole life. Can you kind of talk a little bit about when you got into competitive swimming and when you knew it was something you wanted to continue to compete in collegiately, and what it's been like swimming for Pat and Bryn Mawr?
Yeah, I love Pat. How I started swimming, both my parents worked full-time growing up, so I was always in different camps, different daycare situations, and one of the camps I was at was an athletic camp in the summer, so I was swimming from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. really, and when it was time to be picked up, my parents couldn't get me out of the pool, so they looked for a way to keep me in the pool longer, and that was to join my local swim team. So I started that every summer, and once I, really got into it, figured out what I like to do, then I joined club teams where I grew up, and eventually a US team where I really started to specialize in breaststroke. Can't really do anything else. I'm a one-trick pony, but it's working out for me. And yeah, I did my high school team. I was a captain in high school. And it's just not something I was ready to give up in college. So I continued to do it.
One of the things that's really cool that I've observed about your team is you all have a very good camaraderie. It seems like you all seem to really enjoy cheering each other on the pool deck, and you get along really well. And it's kind of like you're in your own little bubble as a unit. Tell me a little bit about how that develops and what kind of the team environment is like for you.
I think that's one of the best things about our team is our bond, and even other athletic teams at Bryn Mawr say that about swimming. My freshman year, my roommate was also a swimmer, Faith Meacham, and we are captains together this year, along with our friends Lucy Bremer and Maya Schneider. And so we were, really close coming into swim, and then we just kept meeting people. And I don't know, everyone is just so close. I feel like my other experiences in swimming, there was always a competitive nature within the teams, like who's going to get the top spot, who's going to be in the A relay. And that's just not a thing at Bryn Mawr at all. There's no hierarchy of whatever. We welcome people from all different swimming backgrounds, people from all different academic backgrounds. And I really think that combination of people and the acceptance of everybody is what makes the bond so good. So after practice, we're always at dinner together, and then we're studying together, watching movies together. We are really inseparable, and I hope that's something that continues to be a characteristic of Bryn Mawr Swim in the future. And it's something that I know all of the captains and I really want to set in stone this year, especially with things being remote. It's hard to still keep that trend, but we're going to do everything we can to keep that up.
Yeah. You mentioned being remote and everything. Can you talk a little bit about how that's kind of affected you so far, and what you're kind of, thinking about in the future as we kind of enter this next kind of weird semester, and what's going on? Can you talk a little bit about how you've kind of been able to get through that?
Yeah, it's so weird. You think as an athlete, the worst things that can happen to you are being injured or being disqualified or something. But when a global pandemic hits, it's so out of your control that it's really hard to worry about it in a sense. So what I'm doing and what I'm telling my friends and my team is worry about you and what you can do with a given situation. Practices will kind of be reduced this year. So with that less time, how are you going to maximize that time to do your best work? So to me, that means, not goofing off during warm up, get a solid warm up in so you can have a solid practice, be grateful for the time that you have in the pool, set goals for yourself. With swimming, it's such a training heavy sport. You need to be in the pool, 6 days a week to really keep up your endurance and your stamina. So if you're not going to get that opportunity, your head still needs to be in that mind space, and you need to set goals that aren't negative but are realistic. So maybe instead of setting a time goal, you're setting a goal, I'm not going to breathe off any walls, or all of my pull downs are going to be 15 meters this time. So I think it's really personal in that sense. And obviously I'm devastated as a senior, so are my parents. Everyone knows my parents are very involved with the swim team. But you just have to keep telling yourself, it's so out of your control, and all of the measures taken are measures for your safety and for the safety of others. So it's just maximizing what you can do with what you got, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the right attitude to have for sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned part of your reason for coming to Bryn Mawr is getting the best of both worlds, kind of athletically and academically, and you really value your academics. One of the key things that I think you've been able to do is really maximize your time by getting involved in a lot of internships and external experiences and everything like that. And I know you've done some really cool stuff, so I was hoping you could tell people a little bit about the things you've been involved in off campus, kind of.
Yeah. So last summer, in between my sophomore and junior year, I interned at the District Attorney's Office of Montgomery County, which is where Bryn Mawr is located, and it's also where I grew up. This internship was really made possible by Bryn Mawr's Lilac program, which is now called Career and Civic Engagement Center. They provide scholarships for people who really want to pursue opportunities over the summer that are difficult to manage. So for example, my internship was unpaid. So that scholarship really helped me out because it was a full-time gig over the summer, 8 to 5. So that was really helpful. And it also allowed me to share my experiences with other Bryn Mawr community members. So at the DA's office, it was really cool. I worked on the prosecution of Bill Cosby. He was already prosecuted and sentenced in 2018. Sorry, that's the train going by. He, of course, appealed his conviction because powerful men often get powerful attorneys. So I helped really organize the trial that had occurred in the case for the DA's office to combat that appeal. And so it was a lot of organization of a bunch of evidence, making some phone calls, stuff like that. And one day, me and my partner, Cece Carreras, who's at Villanova Law, who I love, we were at this big table organizing a bunch of police reports, and the DA's assistant, Heather, came in, and she's like, "You are touching the genesis of the Me Too movement." And I was like, oh my gosh, because Bill Cosby really was the first, very well-known man to be convicted of sexual assault. And it's a movement that I highly identify with, and I know a lot of people at Bryn Mawr do, so I just felt so fortunate to have that opportunity, and it's something I never expected to be involved in. I thought I would be filing or maybe dealing with a DUI or something, but it was literally Bill Cosby. So I just feel really fortunate to have that opportunity and to also work for a DA that really believes in fighting for justice and believing women. So it was a great opportunity, and it's probably the coolest thing I will ever do, and I'll take it with me for the rest of my career. It was great.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that. It sounds like it really gave you a passion to kind of continue on in your pre-law track, and obviously I wish you all the best with that. And I really appreciate you jumping on and joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much, Travis.
All right. Thanks, Hannah.